Good day there, Moons. Hey, Salima. Good seeing you, friends. Aloha, Mark. And hey, Raja. Let's get you up on stage already. All right. Now I'm seeing the option to invite you as a speaker and to uninvite you. Schrödinger speaker. Raja, are you audible?
Yeah, it's audible for me. And can you hear me well?
Yeah, that is working just fine. Hey, Raja, how's it going?
All good here. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. Where are you calling from?
Frankfurt, Germany.
Close by. So we will have a good ping at least.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm living south of Frankfurt in the rural parts here. Can I say that on a space? Probably shouldn't, but yeah, pretty close.
Okay. It's nice.
All right, and I think that is Adrian requesting from the Audit One account. Fingers crossed that you'll be up on stage here as well in a second. All right, let me approve your request as well. Maybe that will work. I think it does.
True.
All right, Adrian, you're showing up as a speaker. Let's do a quick mic check.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Cool. So everything working with Twitter today, as it seems.
Yeah, great. You might hear my cat meow. I hope that's okay.
Mark is gonna love that. So yeah, you're talking to the right audience for having meows in the background. I think it will just add to the experience.
Great.
All right. Yeah, cool. I think we can get started. We're at the 5 o'clock mark. Everybody is on board here. So yeah, welcome everybody to Buildsphere 22. Today we are featuring here Audit One. And just to talk a little bit about Buildsphere, this is the format where we are introducing the projects that are building on IOTA to the community. Everybody can ask questions at the end. We'll get you up on stage, or you can drop them in the chat, and then we will happily pick them up. Also, if you're having a project that you want to see on Buildsphere, then let us know. Under each original thread announcing a Buildsphere, you will find a very short Google form, and yeah, then we'll be in touch after filling that out. Yeah, I'm your host, Jonathan, and with that, I think it's a good opportunity for a round of introductions and also a short explainer of the role that you play at Audit One. Adrian, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Most of you might know me. I'm Adrian, CEO and co-founder of Audit One. We co-founded Audit One around 2.5 years ago, or almost 3, you could say. Before that, I was actually working as a consultant, also for larger corporations, for performance management, and also data modeling. Also quite a few years in finance, in real estate. And my MBA is in financial risk management. I actually found out that most crypto projects didn't give a damn about risk management and security. And that's why then I decided to jump into Web3 full time, so to say.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Over to you, Raja.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Raja. I'm CTO and co-founder at Audit One, where I lead the company's technical strategy and the direction. Coming to my background, I come with experience of 7 years in the tech leadership as well as doing software developments in the field of AI and blockchain. So coming to my studies, even I did masters in big data and business analytics with major in AI. So I'm kind of a tech guy who loves to build stuff around. And right now at Audit One, also building audit tools that could assist auditors in doing audits at much faster pace. So this is about me. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think a good idea is to start with the very basic question, and that is, what is Audit One really all about?
I can take this one. So Audit One is really an auditor aggregator platform, or more like an ecosystem, you could say, of many auditors. So we have now over 700 actually that are registered. Out of those 700, We have quite a high, let's say, vetting process. So out of those 700, probably 100 are now eligible to audit. And then when we get an audit request, we are basically looking at what is the programming language, the complexity, what kind of type, what smart contracts need to be audited. And then we allocate basically the 4 most suitable auditors to this project. So we list those requirements in our app, basically. We have an app with like different tools, a listing process, some different operational aspects. And then there the auditors can basically see the requirements, apply for it, and then out of those we select auditors. So that's the main concept or the main service, so to say. We also list bug bounties. So audits is more like for pre-deployment, and then bug bounties more for post-deployment to incentivize hacker to report those issues and not just to basically exploit the protocol and steal the crypto, to be kind of like a good hacker, a white hat you call it. And we have been working also for a long time on Insurer, but can probably cover this later, so to say.
Awesome. Yeah, there has been some interest already in Insura Lab. So, somebody is paying attention. So we'll definitely have to cover that towards the end. Also another very basic question to get everybody here on the same page. And I think there is probably some good examples out there. And that is, why do smart contracts need auditing to begin with?
Yeah, so most here should know that quite on a frequent basis, protocols or smart contracts get hacked. There could be different reasons for it. I mean, there are also protocols that have been audited and got hacked. So an audit is never, let's say, a 100% assurance to be bug-free or vulnerability-free, but it really minimizes the risk of being hacked, right? And the more auditors, or the better also their proficiency in auditing, the higher the probability that this is the case and that you can eliminate all those issues. I would say, I mean, for now, the space has been developing quite well. I think less protocols and smart contracts get hacked nowadays. So you really see the impact now of all those security firms out there, but there's still room for improvement, especially for educating builders that audits are really needed and a necessity. I mean, even on regulatory level, there could be a requirement for audits, right? And this is something we see also in the near future happening probably.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard about regulatory approaches for auditing here. But interesting. I mean, it would certainly put you in a pretty good spot if that regulation is rolling around. Interesting. So I'm interested in finding out, how do you really find a good auditor? You already alluded to it. You, of course, have to trust that person, that he is not exploiting any vulnerabilities that he finds. How do you make sure that everybody is working honestly, and also, of course, the skill required to go through a smart contract, find issues, all that stuff? It is kind of demanding, I would imagine. So long story short, how do you find a solid auditor and somebody that you can trust as well?
Yeah, so in the beginning, let's say 2 years ago, we started with contacting the best auditors in the space. So most auditors, I mean, not necessarily their public identity or their true identity, but their pseudonyms. They are known. You can find them on Twitter or like on known bounty platforms, because they usually also have a rank of the best auditors. And those best auditors is really something you can measure by how many issues they found somewhere, right? Or how many bugs they submitted and they were valid, how much money they made with it in the past. So the track record and the performance is really like a crucial aspect of it. So we wrote them, we told them about the advantages of Audit One, being totally flexible, earning your own money, not having to commit to a full-time job, so to say. and being able to work whenever they want to, basically. So then we onboarded around 30, 40 auditors, you could say. And then since then it was just word of mouth, really announcing a lot what audits we have done. The auditors also announcing it, basically, that they have been part of it. Yeah, and this was like a moving force. And then fast forward, nowadays we have so many auditors that actually, we have many more that could audit, that are currently auditing. So we are working now much more on the demand side. And then the reputation within our system is quite easy to understand. So we also have a ranking dashboard where you can see the issues the auditors have identified. You can see also how much money they made. And then when we allocate 4 auditors per project, they also compete with each other, which means, let's say one auditor finds, so they all get different points or XP basically per issue. And then ultimately long term, we can differentiate the good from the bad auditors, so to say.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I'm imagining it like football cards with all of the auditors having, XP spread out over their abilities. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think it is, reasonable to have some grading system there when you can put everything in very defined numbers, so to say. So how does the work of an auditor look like? So something is landing on the desk of an auditor. Maybe you can give us an idea of how the work is actually looking like.
Yeah, let me take up this actually. So from the perspective of auditors, so based on the audits that has been conducted, and I oversee the audit process at Audit One. So here is how the auditor work would look like. So initially, whenever they are allocated with a project, auditors immediately seek for the documentation or the code walkthrough, so that they could clearly understand what smart contracts are supposed to achieve for a particular use case. So this is the first thing which auditors seek for. And then secondly, they have their own ways to audit. And few of them which we have identified is like few of the auditors use automated tools in the beginning, like static analyzers, fuzzers, to get the known vulnerabilities, and then go forward with a manual review for each line of code to identify issues. And once they identify issue, they try to build the proof of concepts to simulate the exploit scenarios. And once that is done, they try to report it in the our platform so that we review it. So initially they do it independently, and later every auditor will look into each other's issues to come to a conclusion on what is correct and how the exploit could happen, and then what recommendations could be given to project in order to overcome such scenarios in future. Their methods vary, but let's say the more experienced auditors really emphasize on certain vulnerabilities that they have seen in past, whether it reflects in the present code base that they are going through or not. So the methods might vary, but let's say at the end of the day, the ultimate goal of every auditor is to catch the potential issues before they become hacks or the major exploits.
Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't have assumed that there are so many different ways of going about it to arrive at that same outcome. On the flip side, I'm wondering, like, for a non-technical person like me, I'm exploring a new protocol, and is there some way for me to figure out the security of a smart contract? Is there some help, some tools for non-tech savvy people to get a glimpse of how that works, and how reliable can that be really?
Exactly. So this is a good question. Like I cannot say that there is only one metric for a non-tech savvy guy to get an idea of how security of a particular company or a particular smart contract is working. There are like various parameters that can be evaluated on the top level. The first thing is like almost all audit reports, they try to present in a technical way, but in the audit reports itself, you also find some stats with respect to how many high issues are found, how many medium issues are found. So that metric could help you understand what is the security level of that particular company or particular smart contracts. And second thing, not just audits ensure 100% of security. So the second thing which you can look for into the project is like whether are there any bug bounties placed, so that the company is really concerned about their security as a continuous maintenance scheme. And third thing is like, let's say, if company is really caring about security, the non-tech savvy people can also look into something called as assurance. Okay, does company have any insurance schemes taken up so that if any hack happens, the users are really getting benefited at the end of the day? So here are some open metrics that any person in the Web3 space can see and understand. And apart from that, if you just have conceptual knowledge, we also have something called as project research reports for various protocols available on our Coin Intel. So it's part of Audit One, where we try to do 360-degree review of a particular protocol, so that by reading it, even a non-tech savvy guy can understand what is the project up to in terms of security as well as the business aspects too.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've been, of course, looking at some of the tools out there in Web3, and some of them are quite good in giving you an automated response about a contract. But of course, with certainty, it does not eliminate any of the risks. And of course, people if they are having malicious intent, they of course try to get ahead of these, token sniffers, contract sniffers, etc. So yeah. It's nice to have, but certainly not offering certainty for the security of a contract there. Yeah, also kind of interested in your opinion here on how often exploits that are happening in Web3. How many times do you think it is somebody on the inside versus somebody is just stumbling upon an exploit and is utilizing that? Do you have any idea how to gauge that?
Sure. Definitely. So here is an interesting perspective from the stats even of today's hacks that are happening. In recent years, you might have heard of this insider threat called as like rug pulls, where founders or let's say developers have the malicious intents and they always deploy contracts to raise funds, and then they run away with the liquidity that they have. So this has been reduced these days because the community has become much aware of these situations. Like if they feel doubt about particular project and the project is overhyping certain things, there is always a false intuition being created in the community, and then they are moving away from this happening at a scale. But let's say it has been reduced a lot. And when you talk about this, let's say there are like two ways to look at it. One is like intentional ways of one is like intentional way, and the other one is like non-intentional way. If you look at the intentional way of insider threats happening, these are something which are hard to detect during audits, or let's say hard to detect by just looking at the project code. But it's all about community looking at a project in a perspective that, okay, are they overhyping stuff, or does this project really have a value, is something which needs to be evaluated. And there are like non-intentional things which could be really avoided with the awareness and education. If you talk about the phishing attacks and the loss of private keys, recently the most of the hacks are happening in and around this space. So this is something which can be overcome by providing proper education in terms of developers, and also establishing proper policies in terms of who controls the contracts in case of an incident happening, and also securing their private keys in a way that the exploits can be avoided in a better way. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And even if the audits are passing with flying colors, probably also worth checking out the token distribution and stuff like that. That is, of course, happening after the audit. So, for example, I don't know, somebody buying 99% of the supply while the token is very cheap. And that can, of course, introduce a lot of malicious ways of dealing with your community. Yeah, so there are definitely also things to have an eye on after the audit has been completed. Fair to say, right?
True.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's sum it up here what the funnel is for somebody that is wanting to have their contract audited. I know that you guys have been working quite a lot with the IOTA community, so chances are that is going to be very interesting for a bunch of people. So how do we approach you if there is a contract that we want to have audited?
Yeah, really good question. So usually people or builders that seek to secure their project or want to launch it, they are usually not considering an audit, or if they do not, how much time is actually needed to audit a contract. So sometimes we get a request and they say, yeah, we want to launch tomorrow or like next week. And we seek an audit, or what can we do to secure the contract? So usually it depends also on the code base size, the complexity. So definitely consider enough time to audit, because also when we audit something or review the security, we will find issues. Like usually in every case we find issues, on average around 23. And those issues, they need to be fixed then from the project to then later have a second review of the optimized code base. And then after this is basically, approved by us, or let's say, the issues, or the fixes have not introduced new attack vectors, then actually, the code should be deployed on the blockchain. So all of those steps basically can take time. So I would say if it's a small code base, maybe just 1 or 2 weeks. If it's a bigger code base, like really a big platform behind with many smart contracts, then it can take a month, sometimes even longer, right? So the time is really important. It's really good to have a high test coverage, when you go into an audit. And then it's just contacting an audit firm, right? Like once you're ready, you need an audit, ask for quotations, for multiple quotations, and then you can also choose among those, that you requested basically.
Yeah, sounds easy enough. I mean, time is of course a component. I think auditors are working better if they're not doing 3 night shifts in a row. Makes perfect sense to me. On the other side, how to become an auditor with Audit One. Maybe you can walk us again through what are you especially looking for and what is the onboarding process there?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, there are a lot of auditors on our platform, and more, let's say, than the demand coming in. So we already have a lot of good auditors in the queue. But if you really want to stand out, it's always good to have prizes at contest platforms, so where everyone competes basically. Let's say, for example, Code Arena or Sherlock, where everyone competes, and if you submit valid findings, you will get paid for it, right? And this is publicly visible on their ranking dashboard. And so if you can then basically prove that you have found X issues, maybe you have also been working at an audit firm for some time, where it's indicated in the audit reports, that's the perfect base for it. There's great content out there on YouTube for learning, but of course the best way to inherit the skills is to do it and to practice. And then we also have our own academy within the app. Then we also, if you want to be then eligible, there's also an exam for Rust and Solidity that you need to pass on our application, and you have to do KYC for 90% of the clients or the projects that we audit. Yeah, I would say that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, sounds like it to me. Also, interesting that you're KYCing the auditors. I think that is also coming back to the trust issue. If you're finding an exploit, that it is getting reported instead of getting exploited. I think, that is a very reasonable way of going about it. But I'm wondering, of course, like, what is in it for the auditors? I mean, obviously they get shouted out on your Twitter if they are doing well, but what is your incentive that you're offering to them?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious one is compensation, right? Like a monetary compensation. So they usually get a base payment, which is 50%, which is basically divided among all the auditors participating. But then there's a performance-based payment, which means then we basically have a bounties or a bounty pool of like half of the total payment for the auditors. And this can be won by the auditors by having the best performance within the audit. So they're actually incentivized to find issues, which means if then out of 3 auditors, there's only 1 auditor finding all the issues, which is rarely the case. But there's, of course, sometimes differences. Then the one who found all the issues would then get all the bounty payment, basically. And this way we are also incentivizing that, auditors are not lazy, because they are, first of all, then prioritized for next audits if they perform well. And also they can get more money per audit, basically, which is also quite a flaw in traditional auditing. So there are many areas or industries actually where this could be applied, and auditors could be actually incentivized for finding issues.
Yeah, very reasonable. So there is definitely incentive after taking the job to actually do a good job. I think that is a very reasonable way of going about it. So let's move on to the audit token. Probably a good idea to just give us a roundabout about everything that we should know at this stage.
Yeah, so there are also many smart contracts behind it or in development. So we are, step after step, basically executing or launching new features. We just recently launched the smart contract to lock audit tokens for projects or clients, which means if they lock audit tokens long term, they benefit from discounts for security services. And this approach we will also have for the auditor side to basically incentivize them to work with us long term. And then they, on top of their fiat payment or stablecoin payment, they also get more audit tokens. But this is then also, they have to lock it, and depending on their level on the auditor platform or Audit One platform, they can get more boni or more perks by this way. This is basically for like a loyalty program, you could say. Then in parallel for now, almost a year, we have been developing Insurer. And the audit token will be basically the fee facilitator of the insurance, like where the premium is basically transferred by, and also how the TVL gets locked into those different pools. Also stable coins will take a role there, but the audit token is then basically the native token for this protocol, similar to Nexus Mutual if somebody wants to look into it. This is one feature. And then we also have different tools that we are offering, and we are developing more. They become a SaaS, and then the token can be used in kind of like a payment or coupon token, so to say.
I see. Awesome. Yeah, you have been mentioning Insurer Labs here, and we have a question from Honky Kong. I think let's just pull that a little bit forward. And he is asking, can you tell us about Insurer Labs? Seeing that audit token is going to have utility in that as well, I think now would be a good point, actually.
Yeah, so Insurer, I mean, everyone who knows about insurances, especially in the EU, there's always heavy regulation around it. So actually 2 years ago, we launched this project, first as a stealth project. And we talked to so many regulators and insurance providers, traditional insurances in Germany. And then finally found a way how we can do it. Also then with a subsidiary in Abu Dhabi. So there are also other projects. The IOTA Foundation is located in the ADGM regime. So this is basically where now all the puzzle pieces come together. And the vision of Insurer is basically to have an insurance protocol, and either projects can launch insurances for their users, basically, for a certain premium, with the requirement of being audited and risk assessed by Audit One. And then also traditional insurance companies, they can use the infrastructure of Audit One, of insurer, to then basically launch or bring their insurances on chain. And for both, we are currently in discussions. For both, we have soft commitments, to bring this forward. But, this takes much more time than, anything else, because it's so heavily regulated, so to say.
Yeah, I don't envy you for figuring out the bureaucratic processes of getting German insurances on chain. That sounds quite demanding, I would say. But I'm wondering about the insurance part from the protocol side. So, for example, let's say I have an automated market maker, and then I would say I'm insuring up to $1 million of TVL. That is, if there is an exploit and users are affected, I'm going to repay them. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, so it would depend on the risk assessment we do on you. There will definitely be a relative and an absolute cap for the insurance, which means probably 1 million TVL we will be able to secure to insure 100%. But then if we have, for example, clients like Aurora, there for the beginning we can't insure the 100% TVL, but then we will have also some traditional insurances, they have this cap for how much value can be insured actually. And then depending on the risk assessment, we will determine the risk profile basically. And this is also then, basically leading to the premium that the project has to pay or the user has to pay to get an insurance. So we want to make it rather wallet based, which means it could be a project insuring, but it could also be a user just wanting to insure their tokens or their assets, real world assets, for example.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Just to get ahead of the community question that is going to come up, and that is, when is Insurer Labs going to open its gates? Any estimation that you can tell us already?
I mean, as we all know in this ecosystem, estimations are always hard to meet. But I really hope early next year. So we are currently being incorporated. The protocol is being tested already. We are talking to traditional insurances to maybe share risk and then also provide liquidity. If all goes well, early next year.
All right, fingers crossed for that. Yeah, so last thing before handing it over to the community questions, Doug Mythos will get you up on stage in a second before your arm is getting tired. I wanted to ask you about the ambassador program that you are running. Can you give us a quick explanation of what it does? What is the intention? And specifically, I'd be interested, are all ambassadors also auditors? And what is an ambassador's work at Audit One looking like?
So I would say in like a broad, high-level view, an ambassador is really standing for the values that we, that are important for us at Audit One. So really, security, trust, making sure that the entire ecosystem, or in this case the IOTA ecosystem, really appreciates security and emphasizes, embraces security and trust. And this could be, it could be basic things like, writing articles about it, being active in groups, in project Discord servers, just being aware of it, that it exists and that you can communicate it to the outside world. And then as a reward, there would be audit tokens and like a reputation within our Audit One platform. But it's not a dependency to be an auditor. So not all ambassadors are auditors, and not all auditors are ambassadors. So it can really be just a normal Web3 user who likes our ecosystem, likes our platform, so to say.
All right, fair enough. So any barriers of entry, or can anybody get started today if they wanted to?
So our marketing manager is always happy to welcome new ambassadors. It's more like, so we have different audit token rewards for different, let's say, services or tasks that you could do. And then if basically you hand it in, she will review it, and then you would get it. Like, I mean, there's some criteria that you need to meet, but yeah, it's quite understandable, I would say. So if you're interested, just come to our Discord and she will happily help you, I guess. If it might take some time, that could happen.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's get Dark Mythos up on stage. I was going to say, but the arm has just come down. Yeah, so Adrian, I've of course visited your Twitter, and prominently featuring on your profile is that you have met the legend Hide the Pain Harold. In how much pain is he, and how convinced did he leave off Audit One after your encounter?
Yeah, to make it for everyone understandable. So I was in Singapore and I met Harold actually in my hotel lobby, and he looked like he was in real much pain, but actually he was super nice, super open. I was talking with him. I think his wife was also there because she was then shouting, "Come to me!" Like it seemed like she has more control in the relationship. But he was super nice. And he's now, I hope, an audit holder. Who knows? But I told him about it, and he was actually in Singapore for crypto. Yeah, and I wouldn't have expected it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think the KOL sphere is not ready for Harold entering the ring yet.
Yeah, true.
Interesting. Yeah, cool. So, Dark Mythos, if you want to, we can cover your question. We've been going over Honky Kong, asking about Insurer Labs. From my side, I'm just left wondering, in which way can we support you best?
Was it now for Dark Mythos? Or
that is for you. Now, we as the IOTA community, how can we help the success of Audit One?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's really being active in our community, listening to what we are doing in the space, really also thinking about how much security or trust is important to each one of you. And I think, yeah, if probably everyone here is an investor in Web3, and most have been scammed probably. So it's really important. I mean, if it's not us, it's really important to have some kind of, institution or player that is actually looking into projects, verifying their security, but also other aspects like more holistically, the tokenomics, what team is behind it. So really making sure that you don't lose your money, right? I mean, you could still lose it, because it's always a risky space. But ultimately, you can reduce this risk, especially the technical risk and the team risk or the project risk by assessing it or looking at reports that assess it, or players.
Yeah, sounds good. Raja, I want to pass the mic to you as well before we close it off. Any closing thoughts that you want us to leave with? Now's a good chance for that.
That's nice. And then, I mean, nothing to be said much, but let's say always regarding the security of any Web3 project, like it shouldn't be an optional one, but it should be a mandatory thing is what I always recommend.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think we've come to the end. I'm going to check the comment bubble here. And it is, hey from Moons. Hey, right back at you, sir. And with that, we've covered basically everything I wanted to ask you. So yeah, thanks a lot for everybody listening in. Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you so much, Raja, for coming on. Been a blast. And yeah, lots of cool things to look forward to. I'll be definitely keeping tabs on you guys. And with Insura Labs coming up, there's a lot to look forward to, as it seems. So yeah, thanks again for coming on. Wishing everybody a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll catch you guys on Discord.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.